I've lived next to an abandoned farm my whole life. I'm 17 now, and I'm looking forward to going to university to study medicine. As you should know, with the way the economy has been acting the last couple of years, there have been so many closures of farms. A multitude of farmers have gone bankrupt and have had to sell and move on to something else. It's very unfortunate and sad to hear. The farm I lived next to had always been abandoned, and a couple of months ago, me and my two friends decided to venture into the abandoned farm for a bit of fun. I remember as a child, my primary school took our whole class to visit a popular farm, and I enjoyed looking at the animals and seeing how it all worked. As me and my two friends Barry and Steve stepped onto the abandoned farm, nothing felt off or unnerving, but plenty of excitement was running through our veins. We were just talking amongst ourselves as we were covered in darkness and our mobile phones being our only source of light. You could feel the uselessness of the land, and you could tell how neglected it was, how it was not needed in society anymore. It was sad, really. Barry came to observe how we didn't come across any broken bottles or used needles, or how this abandoned farmland didn't come to be some haven for junkies. It was like it was abandoned, but something was still looking over it. We all stopped for a moment to just take in the atmosphere of the empty farm. The place was huge, and back in the olden days, it used to soar in profits for our area and offered jobs to a number of people. Times have sorely changed, I thought. And that's when we heard something in one of the abandoned barns. We ignored it, thinking it was some nighttime animal playing with some broken farm equipment. There was still plenty of that, and barns that were once used to keep in sheep and cows. It was like the farm just stopped one day. It had the same vibe of a ghost town. Steve dropped his energy drink after he had finished it, and I dropped my drink after that. As the three of us walked a little further from our littering, we all heard something whiz right past us so fast and so quickly. Mine and Steve's empty drinks had disappeared from the ground, and the three of us decided to throw more things onto the ground to see what happened. We did so, then walked away from our littering once more, and again we heard the same fast whizzing sound moving through the wind. Our litter had been taken away, as if something or someone was keeping the farm clean. Then Barry screamed, saying that he saw someone waving in the barn. The place was supposed to be abandoned, but apparently Barry said that whoever it was went back in the barn as if they were hiding. Slowly, the three of us went towards the old barn. As we stepped inside, it was pitch black. When we switched on our mobile phones' flashlights to help us see, slowly, we made out scarecrows, old, out-of-work scarecrows. And creepiest of all, the one directly in front of us, it appeared to be crying. I had to rub my eyes after seeing this, because I swear, the cloth directly below where its eyes were, it was moist, and the way it was positioned, it looked both desperate and begging. I never knew a scarecrow could look so depressing. But what I didn't expect to see, what any of us didn't expect to see, was that scarecrow to turn its head. As it did, all of us dropped our phones out of sheer panic and fear, and when we picked them back up and shone our lights on the scarecrows, they were now all in the same position. All of them looked as if they were crying. They all were in this begging position, somehow portraying a look of desperation in their emotionless faces. My heart was pounding. I kept telling myself that I was just seeing things, that there was no way in this world that I saw a scarecrow's head turn. But seconds later, my fears came true. There was a chanting that slowly built up from a very low whisper to a loud roar all around us. It sounded like old men and teenage boys all chanting the same thing.
Please, out of work, homeless, jobless.
The sounds and words chanted around us in a ghostly and fearful tone. All of us began to turn in circles, looking in every direction for what was making that noise, and to our mistakes, we took our eyes off the Scarecrows. The only thing that made us stop turning around like crazy was when something touched my face. It was itchy, like old dried out straw, and as I slowly turned to see what it was, my heart began to race, more than it already had been. I shone my flashlight to the figure in front of me, and of course, what was standing there where it hadn't been before was the crying Scarecrow. It towered over me and looked down at me, and as I tried to make sense of what was going on, something landed on my face. A teardrop. It was then that all of us ran out of the barn screaming, but we made it only 20 yards before the chanting stopped, and we stopped in our tracks, looking back towards the barn. Curious, I slowly walked back to the entrance, not daring to step foot inside once more, but I turned my light on and peeked in, and there the Scarecrows were, back in their original positions, quiet and alone and sad, but their faces were still moist with the supposed tears they had shed. Chills flowed all over me. Without a word, my friends and I took off out of there. That was the first and last time we'll ever go back to the abandoned farm.